All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Advisor Training. Happy to be with you today. We're going to be talking about one of the most deadly fears that people have in life, right, which is public speaking today. Hopefully, it's not something that scares you guys off too much since you have a sales background and everything. And hopefully you enjoy meeting with people and talking with them, because that's kind of what the focus of today is going to be. So we'll go ahead and jump into that. As always, if you have questions or ideas or anything that you'd like to share with the group, feel free to put that in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll get that as we go. All right. So again, today we're going to be talking about public speaking and how you can use it for lead generation. And this is something that we've had a lot of success with. Marty and Rob and our sales team from our pilot program really had a lot of success with, and continue to do so today. So we wanted to give you some ideas of how you can make this work for you, and hopefully, generate some leads for yourself that way. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is, how do you book a speaking gig, right? What are you gonna, how do you get someone to speak to you? How do you find an audience? And there's a lot of different options here. The first thing we're going to talk about doing is researching these networking events or associations or things like that that are in your area. I know Rob just did a presentation this morning. I believe it was with Corbett. I mean, he might still be on that right now, but it was for like the Texas Association of Association Presidents. So it's, it's an association for presidents of associations. So there are definitely groups out there like that you can definitely find a speaking gig with. The other thing that you're going to do is you're going to offer to speak at one of these events that they're having, whether it's a luncheon or something like that. Usually these folks are desperate for speakers. A lot of these networking groups have a monthly meeting or whatever, and they really need someone to speak every month. And if you're the person booking that, it gets really stressful to try and find someone every month. You're, calling in favors to everyone trying to get people to come and speak. Because again, some people are afraid of public speaking. They don't want to do it. So some of the factors that you want to keep in mind as you're booking this speaking engagement is, first of all, to remember that it's not a sales pitch. It's an education opportunity. You're not going to get up there and give the presentation about all of the Social 5 packages. Instead, you're going to be sharing some social media information and making yourself out to be an expert, which you are, right? You're a social media advisor. You know this stuff. And help people learn more about social media, and then hope that they come to you. You're going to share your contact info by using your M card, or you're going to collect email addresses on your mobile site, and then kind of let them come to you. Especially if you use the M card, they'll all get your information. They can bookmark you and put you in their contacts really easily. Usually it's, and you should all have that. If you don't remember what it is, let me know, and we'll get that information for you. I know mine is, if you text Kate 5 to 88588, you'll get all my information. And you should have something like that too. So when you get up there at the speaking event, maybe write it on the whiteboard or have a slide or something that says, text whatever your keyword is to 88588 and get your contact information. The other thing you can do is you can use your mobile site to ask them to put in their email addresses. Or if you use the M card, you can have them go to your mobile site from there once they get the text back, and they can put in their email address there too. So again, really low-key sales thing here. We're not trying to hit them over the head with it. We're trying to let them come to you, because you're going to be offering them something that they need help with, right? This is one of those, social media is something that really is applicable to any industry. All right, so let's talk a little bit about where you should speak. We talked a little bit about how to go about it, but let's talk about some ideas of where you should be doing this. So the first one that might seem pretty obvious is networking groups. We've got BNI is really big. There's this other one called biz2bizinc.com that isn't in every state, but it covers a pretty sizable area. And they have a lot of networking events in different cities across the country. I know here in Utah, we have a bunch of these networking groups like Corporate Alliance, and we've got one called Unite Utah and ConnectShare and things like that. Lots of these corporate networking business groups that you can connect with. And again, they have a monthly meeting or something like that where they'll let someone get up and talk for a few minutes, or sometimes they do an annual luncheon or something like that. Anything like that is a totally great prospect. Another one is the local Chamber of Commerce. And one thing I want you to think about here with the Chamber of Commerce is that so many times we focus on the one where we're at, the chamber in our city or whatever. But the thing is, there's, if you live in any sort of metropolitan area, each individual city around you may have its own Chamber of Commerce, or it may have like I think here we have something called Chamber West, where a bunch of the cities on the west side of the Salt Lake Valley have a Chamber of Commerce that they all use together. So don't just limit yourself to the one that's in your area. Pick anyone that's in, within a 30, 45-minute drive and volunteer to speak there, because you never know that, they probably really need your services too. And another one is trade associations. See if there's, an association of realtors, a construction association, anything like that, medical association, any of those, that have a monthly or an annual type event where they need speakers. Especially if they have something every month or every week or something, they're really going to be needing folks to come in and speak. Some other ideas here. A special interest group. This is a really good one because, again, these folks meet a lot and they need speakers, but they also have a lot of diverse businesses who could all really use social media services. So some of the options here, like the Association of Women Business Owners, there's a group called NAWBO that's the National Association of Women Business Owners. You don't have to be a woman to go speak at their meeting. Go talk about how social media can help female-owned businesses. Something like a technology council where they have, a lot of high-tech companies or recruitment companies like that, always good. Something like a political caucus. They have all kinds of different folks, and there's all these different political caucuses that are, the libertarians for plate lunch or something like that. There's whatever kind of thing you can come up with. There's a political caucus for it probably. So Chris and I were just talking about this the other day and kind of brainstorming some of the special interest groups we have around here. I know we have like a Japanese Business Owners Association, Women Business Owners Association. I mean, there's so many different options there. So you probably have something like that in your area if you just took a minute and paid attention. So another opportunity is educational experiences. A lot of times colleges or universities or something, they're looking for folks to come in and speak to their students. I know when I was a student up at the University of Utah in the communications program, we had a lot of folks come in, and I was in news writing, and so we'd have different state legislators or different people like that come in and talk to our class, and part of the assignment was we had to write a story on deadline as soon as they'd left. And so it was, we'd have 30 minutes of them talking, and then we had 30 minutes to turn in our paper. And it was kind of crazy like that. But a lot of colleges and universities have started moving away from, traditional news writing or traditional PR and moving more into this social marketing. And a lot of times the faculty are not super experienced in that. And so they need someone to come in and be a guest speaker who, is helpful. Now, of course, I can see you guys all saying like, well, why would these college kids want to buy social media services from me, right? But remember, it's all about networking. What if that college kid has a job at a company and their boss says, hey, we want you in your part-time student, you probably know the social media, we want you to do our Facebook page. And what if they can say, oh, well, this person came and spoke in my class, maybe they would be good, and or something like that. Another option is certification programs. If you licensing or things like that, sometimes they're looking for folks to come in and share some experiences that might help. We have a guy who runs an engineering company who's one of our biggest cheerleaders as a client because we came in and helped him complete their continuing education credits. They didn't need someone who was, accredited by their industry. It just had to hit some certain points. And so, they sent that over, and we went over to their engineering firm and gave them a thing about social media and how it could help their business. And they're super excited about it. They all got their CEUs for the year, and they're all set. So something like that is really helpful too. One that we really wanted to highlight individually is this SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resources Management. This is a huge, huge organization that really stretches across the country, and they have lots of different meeting types where they have a national convention every year that's got thousands and thousands of people, but then they also have like state meetings every year and different city and things like that, regional meetings and stuff like that. Lots of opportunities there to talk about social media and human resources. Maybe go talk to them about crafting a social media policy at their company or something. One of the reasons we were talking about this was that my dad used to be really involved in this. He was the president of SHRM or something like that, and was a human resources guy. But he ended up having a situation where he had to fire someone over their use of social media. He worked at a pathology lab as the vice president of human resources, and this girl had posted a picture on her Instagram and her Facebook that was like a selfie of herself saying, and it was really sad because it was like, I love my job so much. It's so cool to know that I'm making a difference, and the people I work with are so cool, and it's so wonderful. But she didn't realize that she had, it's a pathology laboratory, so they do medical testing. She had vials of blood in the background of her photo, and while they didn't have identifying markers on it, it did have like a unit or a hospital tracking number. So theoretically, someone could have zoomed in on that picture, gotten the hospital tracking number, and tracked it down and seen what that test was being run for. And so it violated patient confidentiality. And so, my dad felt awful because he had to call this girl in to talk to her about her Facebook post where she talked about how much she loved her job, and he had to fire her for it. So something like that, human resources is an area where they usually kind of haven't caught up with social media yet, and they might need help talking about crafting a policy for their company. And, or other companies, they'll have folks who are tweeting out about, from their division or something, and maybe they want to control the message and things like that. So lots of leads opportunities there. A lot of our MLM companies feel this way where, we've got folks who are selling essential oils, and we don't want, and the essential oils company doesn't want them making these bogus claims about what they can help with. So they said, you can't post any content. You can only post, we'll let Social 5 post on behalf of you because that's been through a compliance process. So again, lots of opportunities there with human resources too, and in all kinds of industries. Another thing that you can do is you can create your own opportunity to speak. If you can't find somewhere, make your own. One of the things you can do is start a leads group with other businesses who can benefit you. A lot of folks do this where if they're a realtor and they know a mortgage lender, they work together and pass leads back and forth and things like that. Get together with some different folks like that who have all kinds of different businesses, and maybe you're not going to sell to one another, or you may not be in complementary businesses, but you can at least pass stuff back and forth about, hey, I saw someone who might really be able to use your product, and you can do the same for them, right? It's just that exchange of information. I know Chris does a leads group. He was doing it here in our office, and then they have to take turns so that everybody can have a turn hosting. But he's gotten a couple of sales off of it, and he doesn't spend most of his time selling. Most of his time is spent, running Social 5 development group. So, but even then, he's still been able to book a few sales just from this leads group and from his email marketing that's going out and things like that. So these things do work. Another thing you can do is you can host a dinner or a lunch or something like that where you offer to educate people on a specific topic. My mom's company does something like this. They are like a medical technology company, and they do a thing once a month where they call it Dinner with Des Bio. That's their company name. And they usually have it at like the Cheesecake Factory or something. And folks pay like $30 or something to come. And then they have a well-renowned physician come and speak about a different topic every month. Go ahead and host something like that, or set something up like that for yourself, or volunteer to be the speaker at something like that. Again, everybody needs social media services. It's a universal thing. And then the other thing you can do is you can team up with a partner who offers complimentary services to yours, or a public speaker or something like that. If you know someone who's selling, something that kind of complements our industry, and they go out and do a lot of speaking engagements, see if you can be their opening act for a couple minutes or something like that. Try and book something with a partner, or create a partnership that way. All right, so that's some of the opportunities that we wanted to throw out. And if any of you guys have other suggestions or something that's worked for you, please holler in the chat or in the Q&A and let us know, and we'll share that with the group. One thing I wanted to talk about is, what do you speak about? If now you've booked a gig, what are you going to talk about, right? That's a little intimidating. So I broke these down into a few categories here for some different ideas. And the first one is if you have 2 to 5 minutes. I know that's a really common one at a lot of these networking events, is that they'll say, okay, we're going to have so-and-so get up and they're just going to share a quick tip or a trick or something like that to get us started. And that's what I'd recommend you do. You share a social media tip or trick that can benefit everybody in that room. And again, this isn't going to be something that, we're selling a package to them necessarily. You're just going to be telling them this one quick thing that can benefit their business. And then hopefully they'll come over to you later and be like, hey, I really need social media services. Can we talk a little bit more? So here's some options. You can talk about how to add a call to action button on Facebook. Not a lot of businesses know how to do that. They probably have a business page going, but maybe they didn't know how to put that button in. You can show them how to check what's trending on Twitter. Just open up a Twitter page, show them where those trending hashtags are, and how to search and see what's trending. Talk about the key parts of a LinkedIn profile. You've got 2 to 5 minutes. Just get up and say, hey, it's intimidating to fill out a LinkedIn profile, but here are the 4 most important parts. And I want to make sure you guys know these are all things that we have S5U video recordings of. So, if you don't know how to do this, I've got a recording to teach you, or you can just Google it. Again, how to link your Instagram to your Facebook and Twitter. That's another thing that a lot of businesses need help with. They might be using Instagram, but they need to link it over or something like that. Again, I don't think there's an S5U presentation on that one, but it's super easy. And these are just ideas. If you have something else that you think would be more applicable to the group you're presenting to, go for it. Feel free, all of these are things that you can learn pretty quickly with a Google search. How to export your LinkedIn contacts for email marketing, anything like that. Just some quick tip that will help folks and that you can talk about in just a couple of minutes that will be universally applicable, okay? If you have any other ideas for that or something that's worked for you, feel free to shout it out. So the next time group that we tend to find is 10 to 15 minutes. And in this case, I would recommend talking about any sort of recent development or news that's happening in the social media industry, because you'll have a little bit more time to go into a little more depth. So here's some ideas. Google just did another update on its preferences for mobile-enabled websites. I don't know if you guys remember this. About a year ago, they did something similar, and we talked about that it was going to be mobile-geddon. Here's a great comment from Mike. He says, group webinars also work. I did a webinar yesterday to a group of franchise brokers about targeted advertising. They're located all over the country, so a webinar worked best. Totally true. It doesn't have to be something where you appear in person to speak. You can totally do it over the internet. A lot of these folks are meeting, from various different places around the country or around the world sometimes even. So please don't feel like, when we say public speaking, it's not like you actually have to be there. You can totally do it over the internet too. Great point, Mike. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if you guys remember this, that we talked last year about mobile-geddon and how no one was going to be able to find any websites because Google had changed their preferences and made it so that ranks mobile-enabled websites more highly. And they've made recent changes to that again so that it, once again, favors mobile-enabled websites more favorably. So maybe that's something that you could just read up on and go talk about it for a minute. 10 to 15 minutes, talk about how that works and why it's important to have a mobile-enabled website. Another one that's popping up right now is that Twitter's talking about changing its character limits. It's been hard and fast that it's been 140 characters forever, but last week Twitter said we know that when you share a video or a a link to something or a photo, it can be hard to keep it, because you have that link as well, plus you want a hashtag, you kind of tend to run out of characters. So maybe we'll go ahead and up that number. Okay, Mike, that's a really good comment. I don't know if everybody can see that. I'll talk about that here in just a second. So anyway, another option, news developments that are going on. We feature news events and things like that every month in the advisor newsletter or on the portal. There's usually 2 or 3, industry news type of things. Feel free to just grab one of those, read up on it, maybe throw together a couple of slides if you feel like it, and get up and talk about it. For 10 minutes. It's not a huge deal, but it's really going to make you seem like you know a lot about what's going on in the industry and that you're really on top of it. So really, really great option there. If you have 30 minutes or more, just play Jeopardy. We played that a few weeks ago with Rob. You've got a whole bunch of different options there, and people love this game. We watched Marty play it a couple weeks ago at a, what was it? Utah Business Expo, something like that. And it's so funny to see what people will go crazy to get $5 or a candy bar or something like that, and it was funny too to see that, at first everybody was answering, and then they started holding out on the easy questions because they were all holding out for like the harder questions that had more money or better prizes or better candy bars or whatever. So people get super into this and it's super fun. Jeopardy also makes a great breakout session at a convention. So if there's a convention coming to your town or an association that's doing a convention, they're always looking for those workshop sessions and breakout sessions that folks can host. So if you want to do that, playing this Jeopardy game makes a great experience that way because it's really a learning experience, but it's also really fun. And the other thing is you have access to all those slides. You can change them to meet your needs however you want. If you want to do money, if you want to do candy bars, if you want to do movie tickets or something like that, you could totally change it up that way. All right. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and open it up to questions. We had a great comment here from Mike that I wanted to make sure you guys all got to see. Or hear. So Mike was telling us about how he's done webinars instead of actual speaking events, in-person events, and talked about targeted advertising. Another great thing to talk about, explain how Facebook ads work or boosted posts or things like that. Again, this is something that we've talked about quite at length and you have advisor training on. So you can make yourself an expert on that topic. But he says you can do some targeted advertising or email to your LinkedIn network and invite them out to a free social media webinar and choose an topic that's catching. So this would go back to creating your own. We can totally help you with that. If you want to host a webinar 1 month and you need to send out an email for it, we can totally do that. We'll make your monthly email about that, let folks know the date and time, and we can put in the registration link or whatever, and they can come to whatever it is that you want to host a webinar about. Okay, so again, creating your own opportunity and making it really education focused. I know that might seem a little counterintuitive because it's like all about the sale, but really by making yourself an expert and letting folks come to you, you're really going to have some opportunities. We see this all the time and it really works. Are there any other questions? Yeah, and this is a good one too that Mike points out. We'd be happy to give your presentation too as part of what your BDA receives. So if you want to have do a webinar, but you're feeling nervous about it, let us know and we'll figure something out. I can come on and teach a social media webinar for you about something, or we can get Rob or whatever. We're totally here to support you in that too. So if you're nervous about public speaking, and you just want to do a webinar where one of us comes on, we're totally happy to help you with that too. Okay. So I know, they always say that like public speaking is the #2 fear of people. It's like death and public speaking, but really it's, I want you guys to feel really empowered by this, that, it's not hard. Try and book something, even if you just talk for 2 minutes and you share a quick little tip, super easy, and it's really going to generate leads and conversations for you. I wanted to close here, if we don't have any other questions, by issuing a challenge to all of you to go out and book a public speaking event or a webinar or something and come back and tell us about it. You know, we want to highlight what's worked for you guys. So please, over the next, you get a month, we want you to, in June, to go out and book a speaking engagement with an association, with, you know, a business group, a chamber of commerce, whatever it may be. Go out and book something. If you need help, we're there to help you. But if it's something you just want to show up and do in person, that's great too. But please go out and give it a try. I think you really are going to see a ton of results. We get more results from this sort of thing than we do from, you know, cold calls or any of those sales tools that are traditional. There is a real need for social media services out there, and people don't know where to turn to. They are using their receptionist, they're using their kids, or something like that. You know, anyone who knows more about the Facebook than they do, right? And so every time we, you know, Rob or Marty or Chris or anybody gives a presentation, even if it's just to share a quick little social media tip, or even if it's just a leads group to stand up and tell, you know, hey, I'm Marty Haas, I work for Social 5, here's a little bit about what we do. People always pour in afterwards and come up and talk to them and say, hey, I really need help with this. You know, what can you tell me more about what your company does and what packages you offer? So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and close unless there are any other questions. All right. Well, we have training again next week for S5U, so feel free to stop by for that at 10 and 11, and we'll be back with advisor training again in June. So I'm sure we'll talk to you all in between now and then, but if not, we'll see you soon. Thanks.